Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today we have one of the more interesting and spicy stories that we may have to talk about really all year throughout all of 2022. It's going to be hard to top this one. This is something that is just blowing up on Reddit, Twitter, all over the place right now. This is an update and kind of new situation in the Regi, TSM, double lift, bullying, mental manipulation, yada, yada, yada drama. We have some new accounts, we have new articles, we have new stories, and more stuff coming out, and also news that an investigation is going to be underway. This stuff is really heating up. It's very crazy, and there's just a lot to talk about in this situation, and a lot of different kind of angles and stuff. So we'll be getting into all of that. Definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I would appreciate that so much. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content, and consider checking out the first link in the description below for the new merch we just dropped. With that being said, let's get right into this one. So this is the article that everyone is talking about today. Riot Games is investigating a top esports team founder over bullying allegations. Andy Reginald, the founder and CEO of TSM, has been accused of verbal abuse and bullying by employees and esports pros. Now, we have heard all of this stuff. Obviously, Doublelift and Andy were going back and forth. Doublelift was saying, hey, this guy's a mental manipulator. He's toxic. He's abusive. Not physically abusive, but mentally, verbally, abusive. He makes people cry. He goes overboard. People hate to work for him. It's just a terrible, unhealthy, toxic environment. Regi kind of responds by saying, hey, Doublelift's just mad that, we didn't want him last season. We didn't want to bring him back this year, whatever. So I don't know. It's kind of where we're at. But the very interesting stuff from this article, which you definitely need to read, is that there is now, obviously, this investigation is underway. Riot Games is investigating all of this stuff, and this is very crazy to see. But at the end of the day, I think it's good. I think it's good that this is being investigated, because either way, hopefully, if it's a third-party, fair investigation, we will find out some truth. Whether Regi's right, whether Doublelift's right, whether whatever, we will find out some truth. Because right now, it's just Doublelift and some people on his side against Regi and some people on his side, and it's just he said, she said. Doublelift saying, hey, this is what I know. I worked for him. I played for this team. I talked to a bunch of pro players. I talked to a bunch of employees. Here's what I know. Regi saying, no, that's not what happened. That's not how it is. And then, there's TSM former players and employees and stuff coming out in favor of Regi as well. And I know that a lot of people, talked about like the clips with Dyrus or Special and clips like that, and we're like, wow, see, this is definitive proof that Regi is super toxic, manipulative, whatever. But then Special and Dyrus and guys like that came out and were like, no, that was just him being passionate. That was just heat of the moment. We forgave him. We don't care about that. There's no reason for you guys to be upset, yada, yada, yada. And to me, that has been some of the dumbest arguments that I've heard throughout this whole thing. Because just because they forgive him, or just because they think it's okay, or just because they're not personally upset about it anymore, one, that doesn't matter, and two, that's literally a hallmark of mental manipulation and mental abuse and psychological abuse and stuff like that. I mean, think to any abusive relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whatever. You see all the time people getting stuck in horrible relationships, horrible situations, and they convince themselves that it's okay because the person with the power, the person at the top, whatever, tells them that it's okay, tells them that, hey, it's just normal, hey, I'm just passionate, hey, I'm just competitive, hey, I just want to win and I have high expectations, yada yada yada. That doesn't mean that that's not manipulative or abusive or toxic, or that he shouldn't potentially face consequences. Now, again, we don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know what exactly has happened. But I'm just saying, if all that stuff is true, and even if Regi's changed, even if he's apologized, even if whatever, even if things are different now, or those people forgive him or whatever, that doesn't mean you shouldn't face consequences. That doesn't mean the truth shouldn't come out. So that's why I'm happy that there is an investigation, because hopefully by the end of the day, we will figure out, the truth. But what I think is pretty interesting and pretty damning in this article, they do talk a little bit about how we are aware of the allegations made about the CEO, owner of TSM. This is from Riot Games. As a league operator, we've engaged the law firm, or whoever, to conduct an independent investigation into claims of misconduct made against the leader of this team in accordance with standard league process. So that's kind of what's going on there. What is interesting is that there's actually some quotes from people who currently work with TSM. They did say that several of those employees told Wired they were attracted to TSM because of its high status in the esports world and their personal fandom, which is absolutely true. Yes, people want to work for TSM. TSM is seen as like, a standard or pinnacle or whatever in the industry, and it seems like they've absolutely, at least allegedly, been taking advantage of that. Many became disenchanted by Din's alleged mental abuse, in one current employee's words. That's crazy. All requested anonymity for fear of career repercussions in the insular and tight-knit world of esports. Absolutely. That is another very, very interesting thing to note here, and something that I commented on earlier. In the LEC, I feel like you don't see this as much. It seems like Carlos hates Fnatic. It seems like Carlos has rivalries with a lot of the other top LEC teams. It doesn't seem like they're buddy-buddy. It doesn't seem like they all get along. In the LCS, that is not the case at all. TSM has a ton of power. TSM has a ton of connections. And TSM and Jack and Steve, all these guys, they might act like they're rivals or whatever on the Rift, or sometimes, or they might be competitive. These guys are friends. They work together, and they absolutely help each other out, and they absolutely blackball and keep people out together as well. That's why it's even tougher, someone like me or other reporters or people to even talk about a video like this, because obviously, I hope to grow in the esports world. I hope to get my name out there more and more. I hope to, potentially work with some of these teams in the future. I hope to eventually get interviews with, some of these owners or some of these players or some of these coaches or whatever. And the fact that, stuff is so tight-knit and gross, especially in the LCS right now, makes it very, very difficult. Now, whatever. If me talking about this stuff or me, giving some of my thoughts and opinions ruins relationships down the road, whatever. I guess so be it. That's not going to prevent me from doing anything like that, because I think that is absolutely ridiculous and very, very stupid. But just understand that that's possible. So I do not blame these people at all for obviously, wanting to hang on to some anonymity. But they are still commenting to Wired, which is crazy. The esports industry is really young and toxic, says one. Your relationship results in jobs more than anything else. Two sources say Din's close connection to other esports team owners and professionals has deterred current and former employees or players from pursuing accountability. That's the other thing there. Andy can do whatever he wants. He can be as toxic, as horrible, whatever, because he's untouchable. It's his way or the highway. If you end on bad terms with him, if you stand up to him, if you talk crap to him, whatever, one, you're getting fired, and two, you're not ending up in another team. You're not ending up in another situation. That's why it takes somebody like Doublelift, who is independent, making money on his own, doesn't need TSM, doesn't need Regi, doesn't need their connection, doesn't need their money, to be able to maybe bring light to some stuff like this. Again, it's all allegations. It's all pending investigation. We'll see. But I do understand that there is a lot of reasons why we haven't heard a lot of this stuff yet, potentially. They have some quotes from Doublelift and everything. 4 individuals who worked with TSM tell Wired that the esports organization is dominated by a culture of fear. As far back as 2013, Din was known to verbally abuse and yell at players and employees. He's called employees stupid or worthless. 2 sources recall Din calling employees after hours to scream at them. 3 current or former TSM employees say that sometimes Din would ridicule employees for hours. His tirades were often prompted by minor mistakes. Other times he yelled at employees in front of assembled colleagues as part of an exhibition, which is, if that's true, absolutely disgusting and psychotic, that Din appeared to take pride in, which is, that's just like hallmark, psychopathic behavior. Again, if it's true, they're all allegations, the investigation will bring light to the truth, hopefully. One former employee recalled hearing Din say he wanted to make an example out of a person he berated publicly. A normal boss who thought you were doing a bad job would give you feedback. It was like, this is trash or you're awful at TSM. The employee estimates that there was a time when Din made somebody cry at least every other week. That's crazy. That is not healthy. That is not normal. There's just so much different stuff here. It's really hard to see a long-term future at TSM because this is the kind of stuff you have to look forward to. Long-time employees understand that eventually there will come a time when Andy wants to fire them, and it'll be about something really, really small. They do have some quotes from Regi as well. He said, he has exceedingly high expectations for himself, and he shares those same high expectations with everyone I work with. I have zero tolerance for underperformance, which I think is kind of ironic and interesting, because when you're looking around at the past couple of years, TSM has absolutely underperformed, which could lead to increased toxicity, increased stress, increased, lashing out from Regi and guys like this. But also, some of this is Regi's fault. Some of this is off the back. I would even say much of this is off the back of a lot of the decisions and people that Regi has around him. So it's kind of ironic, that he's talking about his high expectations and his zero tolerance for underperformance, yada, 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 while, the TSM League of Legends team, and most of the TSM esports teams over the past couple of years have been underperforming. And again, especially with the League of Legends team, you know that Andy has a hand in a lot of what's going on there. This team has made it to Worlds, once in the last 4 years, and they went 0-6 the year they made it. So, maybe Andy should take some accountability himself there. He says he's intense, passionate, driven, and relentless in pursuit of winning. It's my nature. I set an extremely high bar, and when I feel that someone's not delivering, I directly and bluntly share that feedback. He added, however, when he looks back, my vocabulary was sometimes too harsh and ineffective. Now, again, to me, this is a lot of textbook manipulative behavior. Like I said earlier in the video, saying, "Oh, I'm just passionate. I'm just relentless. I'm just driven. I'm in the pursuit of winning." But maybe my vocabulary is a little too harsh. Like downplaying some of the stuff you did, downplaying some of the stuff you said, making excuses for yourself rather than holding yourself accountable, rather than making changes, which I think, again, if all this stuff is true, it doesn't seem like very much potential progress or whatever is going to be made out of this. So it's really, really interesting. You guys definitely need to check out this article. It's got all the details, all the scoops, all the stories and stuff. So people are just kind of wondering, what's going to come from this investigation. I've heard people say, is TSM going to get kicked out of the LCS? Is Regi going to get kicked out of the organization? Like, obviously that stuff could maybe happen, maybe it's possible, but I don't really think there's any way that would ever happen. The most likely outcome, as a lot of people are saying, is maybe a fine. Maybe Regi has to take a step back from the League of Legends team, or take a public step back from the LCS as far as operations and stuff go there. But I don't even know if that's likely. I think a fine is probably the most likely outcome from this whole thing. But where you will see, again, if this stuff is true, it's all allegations, it's all, he said, she said at this point, but if this stuff is true, you will see backlash in terms of, TSM's brand, TSM's reputation. They pride themselves as being the esports organization, being the most valuable, the Forbes numbers, they're trying to get to 1 billion, all this stuff, but this will hurt. This will hurt with bringing in new players, bringing in new talent, bringing in new sponsors. Do you want to be the guy that's partnering with the biggest bully in the esports world? Is that what you want to be going for? If you're a brand, if you're a new content creator, whatever. Again, if this stuff's true, then it could absolutely hurt some of this stuff. So more so than I think, what the LCS is going to do, I think the obviously the court of public perception is going to be most important for TSM and Regi here, because they are a brand that is still trying to grow, that wants to be in people's good graces. They are a brand at the end of the day, and brand perception is a very, very big thing. One other interesting story I found here that, I think kind of fits into this whole story very, very well, and really, I think, tells, what kind of person Regi is, and what makes a lot of this at least believable. Again, maybe it's not true, but it sounds believable. This person, Jonna May, Facebook gaming partner, I guess some kind of streamer or something. I don't really know who she is, but she said, "I remember when Regi's drunk girlfriend bumped into me at an industry party, which caused me to spill my drink on both of us, to which I apologized to her for. Then he had the audacity to step up to me, berate me, and ask if I know who he is and that he would get me kicked out," which was absolutely hilarious. And then there were these tweets afterwards where Mike Carr says, "Hee TSM Regi telling May he can get her kicked out of a party." And Regi's response isn't to deny it, isn't to say it didn't happen, isn't to say, they're slandering him or whatever. He just says, "has been, dead brand, crying face." This has shades of, the imports tweets to me. This has shades of him tweeting that disgusting stuff at Vulcan last year. I mean, this guy just seems, at least, again, his perception on Twitter, the persona he publicly displays seems to be immature, asshole, bully, whatever. And it doesn't mean that you can't change. It doesn't mean you can't fix or whatever. I'm sure he's not just always a terrible, horrible person. Obviously, he's done a lot of good. He's done a lot of things right. He's helped out a lot of people. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have to, potentially face consequences for your actions and for the people you've hurt and for the careers you've ruined, the lives you've ruined, and potentially, mental damage and things that you've done to people. I know Jericho responded to this as well. He said, "I remember this because it was hilariously at a party hosted by someone we were 10,000% great friends with and would laugh at him for asking that." So I don't know. It just seems like no one has stood up to this guy. No one has ever told him no. No one has ever, again, he's never been held accountable because it's been impossible to hold him accountable because of the power that TSM and he has in terms of not only their team and their brand, but their relationships that they have with brands, teams, orgs, everyone. And again, I do think it is one of the major downsides of the LCS right now, how interconnected our top teams and brands are, and how they can, blackball or threaten or blackmail. I don't know what even the right word is. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but they can do those things to people together. It's not good. It's not good. It's a terrible, terrible scene right now. It's one of the many problems I have with the LCS. But very, very interesting, spicy article and stuff coming out. Again, we'll see what this investigation comes out with. I'm sure there'll be many more spicy details, many more crazy stories. And then at the end of the day, Riot's going to have to make a decision on what they want to do going forward in the future. And we'll have to see how this impacts TSM, the brand, the org, the team. And yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. Are you on the Regi side? Are you on the double lift side? Are you somewhere in between? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe, save today, and all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.